Hey, Rajni.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome Balaji. I'm excited. We're trying a new format. There's so much new things going on in the last couple of weeks. So I'm excited to catch up with all of that news with you and also talk through a couple of topics that are very interesting. So let's start it off with our video Balaji. So I think that kind of sets the stage for what we're going to talk through today.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. There was a little echo for me. So let's get into it. So do we want to um, put on the clip that causes the
Yeah.
excitement and the panic at the same time?
Yeah, it gives us so that clip gives us a good overview of how powerful this tool could be, and it sets a stage for could AI impact your job, right? So we want to talk through a little bit more about the white paper that everybody's seen this week. But I think the clip is a great place to start. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
So I have here a nice hand-drawn mock-up of a joke website. Definitely worthy of being put up on my refrigerator. So I'm just going to take out my phone, literally take a photo of this mock-up, and then I'm going to send it to our Discord. All right, going to send it to our Discord. And here we go. Technology is now solved. And now we wait. And so we can actually take now this output. So literally we just said to output the HTML from that picture. And here we go. Actual working JavaScript, filled in the jokes. For comparison, this was the original.
That's incredible, isn't it? Equally exciting and scary at the same time for me, especially from tech
It
side.
is. When I first watched it, I mean, there's so much things to unpack in that one video, right? Because that handwriting was worse than mine, so that was to start with. But just being able to take a picture of a page that you hand scribbled and being able to build a website within what 10, 15 seconds, let's just say a minute, that just is barely scratching at the surface of what thing it can do, right? I'm excited about the possibilities, but also today I want to talk a little bit more about if you unpack the white paper a little bit. There's a lot of information. Again, some of you can read it as, oh, the sky is falling, we're gonna all lose our jobs, or you can read it from the lens that I read it as, there is change coming which could potentially impact. Because if you kind of walk backwards, when the calculator came, everybody said that was the end of it, right? No more, we don't need mathematicians anymore, we have calculators. So it ended up being a tool in arsenal that made things faster for us. So that's what how I look at it. I'm not looking at it, okay, everything is going to get replaced, but I think of it as another tool that's going to help us get even better, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, there's so many options, but also it's good to see as an entrepreneur or investors, where are we headed? We're very early in this process. We were GPT-4, bar just came out. If you kind of look forward 2 or 3 years, a lot more changes going to come. So if you prepare for it, I think you'll be better equipped to change, to deal with this tool to make your life better. So that's what my key takeaway was. I want to break down a little bit more of that in a future. Tell me what you took away from that.
Oh, absolutely. I think the initial emotional reaction was excitement as an entrepreneur because now you can iterate through a lot of your thoughts into action faster than you ever could. But I've been in this industry for 25 years, started out as a programmer. Now I think back, what will those initial first year of programming task would be? Because much of the time is spent perfecting your skill to code, right? Probably fast forward in the few years in the future, probably that 1 year probably won't exist where you are trying to get yourself ready to solve problems. Maybe you just jump directly into solving problems, right? That's my first emotional reaction to that video. And
Makes sense.
one other thought I had was maybe in that video, Greg is using text to express the intent. Hey, convert this text into a website. Maybe in the future, there's a voice activated, like you take a photo and tell the phone, like through the phone, say, hey, convert it to a website. And then poof, on the other side, there's a website. It's going to be transformational.
Yeah, I think that is only a matter of time before that happens. But all of the we've been reading, and the kids are getting ready for summer school. Summer break. They play a lot of video games, my kids. So my son was playing Roblox game, and he took a course in Lua, Lua. Hopefully I'm saying the name right, Lua, programming, and he started building some games. So I said, okay, you know what? Just what you said, right? Even if he doesn't know how to program, can we use Chat GPT to create the Lua program? And then he has a studio, Roblox studio, put it in there and see how easy it is to create. Because really, at the end of the day, if you can use natural language to say what you're trying to create, if you can create the snippets of it, you can put it in the studio and create a game. So that's exactly what Greg did, right? But when we did it, first of all, if you're not a programmer, you won't even know that the code was only halfway. So I have to actually
Right.
hit continue for me to get the remaining code. And then we copied and pasted it and followed the directions. The good news is that we were able to build parts, and I was just trying to build a simple Pong game, right? It's not very complicated. But to be honest, this is last night. We were not successful in building it, but I learned a lot about Lua programming. The 1 hour I was playing with him, but I was able to create the main controls, and then I'm able to get objects to use for the Pong, but we couldn't get it to work. So what I'm going with this is, it would be a great human in the loop tool. I think the humans have to be a little bit more smarter than just saying, I'm going to copy code and everything's going to be fine. I just don't think we are there yet. We might get there. I know GitHub has its Copilot, but that's meant for developers who understand the code. They can choose what it offers. But for a layperson, I don't think we're where we don't need programmers. Code is going to do, GPT or whichever AI model is going to, language model is going to now replace programmers. We're not there yet. I don't see us getting there anytime soon, but absolutely think we don't have to have a rookie programmer. I think initially we get into the medium, and then we can get and definitely the experts are still going to be around, right? So that's my immediate take on me personally trying this out.
I 100% agree with you. I think the technology is at very early stages, right? I think you need the expert to monitor and perfect it before it becomes an actionable item. But that also tells you something. Now that you put the expert in the loop and you're tooling this, it only now is a matter of time where all that's going to go back as a learning to the system. Again, it perfects itself. So I don't see a case where humans are completely out of the picture. I think as this evolves out, business processes are going to go through a transformational stage where maybe now we gear towards a different business process, and that'll bring its own innovations, right, on the other side of the equation. So
Absolutely, I would love for us to bring up our deck, and because I think you it's a very good overview of how all the little pivotal moments we've had in history, and it'll be nice to show that and where we are right now.
absolutely. So one of the thoughts that's circulating around is all these AI leading towards a general purpose technology, right? To start off, general purpose technology, what qualifies, right? It has to be evolving, it has to be pervasive, it has to go through all parts of your economy, and also it has to spin or spur more innovation or more new things. These are the criteria they use to define what's a general purpose. Granted, parts of AI are now showing up in specialized areas, but I think it's also gaining pace so fast. You can see the plugins coming out. What this week? There's a lot of Chat GPT plugins. I think it's now starting to get to a phase where you are using that to connect to something else. So now it's starting to connect itself to other pieces. So that's the big question here. Are these AI technologies going to be the next general purpose tech. And it's an interesting
And I,
phase of evolution.
and I think, yeah, I think that's where it's evolving, whether it's ChatGPT or I know there's AGI coming too, right? Uh, so the bottom line is, I think this is a very pivotal point in our technology life cycle where I see at the white paper that we're going to talk through talks a little bit more, especially around the job impact. But I think it has from a learning. I've been listening to a lot of ed tech pitches, and so there's 2 points, right? People just slapping on AI labels. I think we talked about in previous episodes, saying, "Oh, this now it's an artificial intelligence company," just to kind of ride the wave. That's one side. There are other people who really are taking advantage of these new models, whether it's trying to teach through WhatsApp or just have a individual. Not everybody is technically savvy. So how do you bring this power and this knowledge to people who are not able to directly access this, right? So there's lots of different things happening, and I feel like this will impact almost any given job, but differently, right? There's some aspects of every job that I think this will touch.
Absolutely. So before we get into the next slide, so this is based on a paper that came out probably 20th, I think March 20th, 4 days ago. A study conducted by OpenAI in collaboration with the University of Pennsylvania, I think, and it's very early stage study. Probably puts in a blueprint for further studies to follow. Essentially, basis for this is they took the ONET database, set of daily jobs and their daily work activities and whatever tasks are listed to perform that job, and conducted a study with both with humans and the ChatGPT itself as a model to say, hey, what jobs will you be able to displace or augment? And these are the findings. So, Rajni.
Definitely. So first of all, again, whenever you read this, there's 2 ways to look at this white paper, right? There's this sky's falling, everybody's job is going to get replaced, is how some of us are going to react. But the way I'm looking at it is, if it's definitely a good sales tool too at the end of the day for OpenAI, right? But at the end of the day, there's 50% of tasks. That what they did was not, if you can really like document every task a person does in the job, that's great. But what they did was they got an idea of these are the tasks for particular jobs, and 19% of the jobs will have 50% of the task to be replaced. It gets a little complicated when you look at it that way, but the bottom line is about 20% of the job could be significantly impacted. The others are not going to be. But to me, I think this is what I wasn't expecting, right? I would thought, because mostly when automation happens, it replaces the lower end of the value chain, so people kind of move up the value chain. This one, the difference was higher wages and more technology focused jobs have a better opportunity to get replaced, or not replaced, or at least a part of your task getting automated is the way I look at it. So and then if you had to go through a year-long apprentice, if it's a manual labor, cooking, service industries, a plumber, or a job where it could be a lower end job, but you have to, there's so much nuance to it. But let's say it's a healthcare billing, I think some of us, but anyway, if you have to wait for a whole year to learn all the decision points that you need to do, you might not get paid a lot, but that's not getting replaced. But if you're somebody who can jump into a job and immediately deliver 2 to 3 months into it, or even 2 to 3 weeks into it, because your degree got you ready, or just papers, whatever you got you ready, those are the jobs that are primed for replacement, because it doesn't take a learning language model to learn all of these tasks faster as compared to the I would say a lower end job, or a job that needs an year of apprentice. So to me, that was one of the aha moment that I wasn't expecting to see in this paper. So did you have any from your side?
From my side, I think the broad strokes, what I was seeing was that anything that is repetitive and which is ready to be automated by a machine is going to get impacted, right? That's one finding, right? But that being said, anything that has a human element or a touch point where it's you have to be physically present, or it depends on your decision making capacity, critical thinking, those things are probably least affected, right? So it cannot be immediately replaced. Or any place where there is regulation or certain criteria that has to be strictly met. These kind of, so those were no surprises. But one of the things I saw that surprised me was mathematics and anything, again, especially because first few versions of the chat GPT or OpenAI products were not really good at it. Even the most recent study they did to pass I think there was a study conducted to see which of these exams that the GPT can pass, and I think the lower scores are the AMC 10 and AMC 12, the American Mathematics Competitions, calculus. So I'm not sure where the impact or exposure to mathematics, maybe it's too broad a term that was used in this paper. So I'm curious, I was like, how is that possible? But maybe like you said, maybe the lower end or the more rule-based and just learning the formulas type of thing is impacted more in that space.
That makes sense because I think it also failed the literature English sub. Like it did really well. Right? GPT-3 did well, and GPT-4 actually stepped up in some of the tests. But to your point, they did also fail in some of them. So at the end of the day, it's an evolving technology. It's going to get better. What I did is I got access to Bard 24 hours ago. So I wanted to see, okay, I played enough with the Chat GPT. What does it do? To me, I read all, of course, you go into Twitter, you read all the stuff that is doing wrong. For example, if you said January, February, tell me the remaining months of the year, it was garbage that came out. But when I tried it, it was clear, right? It was a great answer. What I'm going with this is, yes, you can make fun of it, but it's evolving such a rapid clip, and the feedback loop is improving the product as we speak. So I expect it to be good. The biggest takeaway for me that got me excited was ChatGPT is like 2021 data, right? I can ask questions, current information to Bard, and he'll tell me. And I was able to, I took a CNN article, say, hey, summarize this article for me. And I put like the Hindenburg research that came out against Block. I put that in one link and said, give me top 3 bullet points, and give me the top 3 bullet points. So to me,
so it's current,
yes,
is it? Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Current
Okay.
data. So that nobody talks about it because whoever has already picked a side. To me, as a neutral person, this is more powerful. You can write code and all that. And I mean, this Chat GPT is a much more evolved product. Bard still feels like it's in its beta, which is what they call it, in the experiment state. But you can interact with current sports stats from current articles. You know what I'm saying? Like is powerful to me to be able to do that, rather than so you can keep up with any new changes that are coming instead of us looking 2 years back. So I enjoyed it. I've just started playing with it, but I feel like it's a product that's evolving rapidly, and it's going to hold its own. Maybe it won't, but to me, I'm excited to see how it evolves.
Likewise, yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, if the distinguishing factors, one is based on current information, one is 2 years behind. That would be interesting.
Yeah, to me, being able, because I love reading, right? But I don't have time to read it. But if I can send an article in, summarize the top 3 points, and it just spits it out, I'll find out if I want to read anymore, right? So I'm hoping at some point I can do that to YouTube. I know ChatGPT does that, don't get me wrong, but this is more intuitive to me because all I said was summarize top 3 points and a link, and it got me the answer, right? If I can do that for YouTube videos, how cool would that be? And I feel like that'll happen because they're all in the same family of Google. So I feel like it'll be a little bit more intuitive, and it is also a little bit more careful about positioning the answers. It feels a lot more privacy focused and a lot careful about the answers. Not like, but again, it does.
And Google knows more about you than OpenAI, I guess. That's another factor, yes. Right? They already have enough information to know about your usage patterns.
Which brings me to, I just want to wrap up with so as we're talking to the jobs, right? So I was thinking about my own job. So if you go to Microsoft has released so much information in the last week, but I want to talk about Microsoft 365 pilot. If you go to the next slide, please.
Sure.
This personally impacts my job, right? In a positive way, then this is what I want to highlight is a lot of people are concerned about, hey, will this impact my job? I'm excited to tell you what Microsoft release will impact my job, but positive. So let me just talk through that. So if you look at the Copilot, there's a 365 apps, and then I just want to, and there's a language model and the graph. This is where you just brought up. Microsoft Graph is similar to what Google has information about you. Is your data, your emails, your meetings, your chats, your calendar, your contacts. So it has so much context about you. And then there's a this language model. So if you ask something, it'll go through and touch your context. So the answers coming back gets better and better for what you want. Okay, that's the setup. So the teams meeting is where running a project program manager role, right? So you've attended hundreds of meetings, I'm pretty sure, and you're late to meetings, other people late to meetings. Just some of the features that comes out of it, right? You can say follow meeting instead of ever attending if you're double booked, and it gives you as soon as like when you get in, you can say, hey, I want to catch up what happened. It'll tell you, hey, Balaji, in the last 20 minutes said these three things. These decisions were made. These are some action items, and you can query the tool to say what kind of topics they talk about before they make it the decision, and then it just makes, because as a project manager you're supposed to send notes, meetings, decisions, action, all that stuff, right? This just took away 50-60% of administrative work if it works the way they advertise from my plate, and I cannot wait to use it, right? That's what I'm going with. This tool, if it comes through, some repetitive work will get replaced, but I will adapt to with open arms if something like this happens. So that's really what I'm excited about.
Absolutely. I think one of the things when I hear about, I think it brings this rings this alarm bells in my head is that now, is this a case where regulation has to step in? Because I think there's too much power with the big companies now with this new technology right now, right? So now one can only begin to wonder, how are they going to use it? Are they going to use it in an ethical fashion, or is it just to drive their revenues? Are they going to bias us with all this data without us? Again, obviously everybody's excited to use it because the first thing is time savings, and you can get to what you want to do in life rather than doing the repetitive tasks. But the downside is now the concentration of this power, right? I just don't know how this is going to shape up. It scares me a little bit.
I want to bring up Praveen in our chat, told us that ChatGPT now has plugins which support the relevant info that's happening right now. So they are bridging the gap as far as what's happened currently.
Fantastic.
So there
Thanks,
was
Praveen.
plugin that can use and came out yesterday. So as we can tell, it's evolving on a daily basis, right? So which builds to the excitement about where we're headed. So there's two ways: you can cover your head in sand or understand and say that thing's going to happen, or the other extreme is I'm going to lose my job, I don't know what to do. Or you can, hop on the ride, keep your eyes open, learn where this is going, how things are going to change, how do you evolve, how do you upskill. And I think that's where the edtech companies that I was talking to, or the pitches I was listening to, were really focused on is the pace at which innovation is happening and the pace at which humans can learn. They can't keep up, right? There's a big delta. So how do we do that? We have to upskill a lot of ours, including me and you and our employees. We have to upskill, and that's the space that a lot of the tech companies are focusing. And I think it's an exciting space, just because what we just talked to, even if Microsoft releases a 365 pilot, if you don't know how to use it, or you know what I'm saying, not everybody's going to be programmers who jump in and understand it. Just being able to set that up and having people fully utilize it is going to be a game changer. So I feel like new roles will come in which will say, how do you even implement this? Even if everything's going to get automated, somebody has to implement, train, and then being able to set up the workflow, prompt engineering. All these are going to be new jobs potentially that could happen, that people can evolve into or start into if they're coming out of college. So I can't wait to see where this is going. I'm excited. And any closing thoughts, Balaji?
Well, absolutely. I think you're right on the mark on a lot of those points, and I would just like to add a few other things, right? So I think there's one of the things that we are going to see is that the humans getting into, I think it won't happen overnight, the transformation. The first thing could be humans getting in the middle, augmenting the automation, and eventually getting automated out. I mean, the example could be like a copyright or a writer becoming a freelancer, and helping with the first draft and make use of the tool. But eventually, I think a majority of that could get automated. So that's one type of transform that can happen, where the jobs won't vanish immediately, but you will, over time, get the system to understand. The other side of it, where I see a lot of changes, and I'm very actually excited that this is probably going to, because that this whole thing removes the first 1 year out of college phase where you're fiddling with code to get your bearings. Maybe people jumped right into solving problems. Maybe there's more entrepreneurs showing up right out of the gate, right? I think it's kind of one of those things where when JavaScript came into being, right? So like, who wants to code in C++ anymore? Just like the assembly to C++ stage, now it's JavaScript did that, and you saw a huge influx of people coming and creating. I can only imagine what this is going to do to the next batch of candidates coming out of colleges, right? And they're going to just jump right into solving problems rather than spending that one year trying to figure out how to syntax correct it or compile it or do all that stuff, right? It could be one of those moments. And last thing is business process itself in a large scale, industry wide, right? Could undergo transformation, and that would bring new opportunities, new jobs, new things to do. But for sure, I think anywhere there's automation that's needed, it's going to get in and expose itself to this kind of technology. Anywhere I think large amount of data is getting accumulated to get intelligence out of it is prime for disruption with this type of technology.
Absolutely. I want to highlight what you just said, because there's a lot of founders or entrepreneurs I talk to, they have a business mind. They don't have the technology. They always are looking for a technology partner. But to what you just said, this could be the technology partner. They, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can build an MVP without having a CTO or a technical person coming in. So I think it's going to improve the speed at which ideas become businesses, or at least MVPs, for us to validate the market. So on that note, this is exciting. Feels like every 2 weeks we have so much new things to say. So I can't wait to see you all in 2 weeks, and have a great day. And thanks, Balaji.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.